Have you ever wondered how to explain the sound of silence, or what emptiness does? Let's tackle the controversial question: who created God? This question assumes that God is limited by time and space. But today we're going to explore a counterintuitive idea. God, an eternal being, transcends these limitations. Understanding this can transform your view of the universe and enrich your spiritual journey. So let's delve into this mystery and uncover surprising answers. In a distant time, God inhabited a formless world, shrouded in darkness. He hovered over the primordial waters, and in a sublime moment, God spoke words that would echo eternally, "Let there be light." And thus, light emerged. God saw that it was good and separated the light from the darkness, revealing his divine power. However, a fundamental theological question persists. Where did God come from? When heaven and earth were nothing more than a promise, when darkness reigned over formless void, he already existed. God dwelled majestically, alone in his divine greatness. He called light out of darkness, brought order to chaos, and created a cosmos from confusion. But the incessant question remains: where did God come from? Some assert that God created the earth 6,000 years ago in just 6 days. Yet, to be philosophically consistent and honest, the question arises: where did God come from? Furthermore, once we understand the origin of God, how can we understand the influence of a spiritual force on a material universe? If we believe that God created the universe, logic leads us to question who created God. And so begins the endless cycle of inquiries. Who created God? The quest for truth extends infinitely, challenging our minds and leading us to question the depths of the unknown. Let's delve deeper into this question. When we ask this question, we immediately confront the idea of a created God, which is intriguing. This investigation itself illustrates a crucial point. Belief in God as the Creator is fundamental to our understanding. However, this question leads us to consider a more plausible hypothesis: the impossibility of something arising from nothing. If we agree that creating something from absolute nothingness is impossible, we arrive at a powerful conclusion. There must be something eternal, something that has always existed. Otherwise, we would be trapped in eternal void. Therefore, all of us, in some way, are compelled to believe that something has always existed. This is the only logical explanation. If we accept that nothing can arise from nothing, then you and I, who are here discussing, are something. And this something must have existed forever. The idea of something eternal and ever-present is the key to understanding the enigma of creation. Here's the question: everything we know about the physical world leads us to doubt that something can exist eternally, especially since the 1930s, when the Big Bang Theory was widely accepted. Our understanding of the universe has changed dramatically. This theory suggests that our current universe is just a temporary manifestation of a single iteration in an infinite series. Consider the evidence. The universe is constantly changing. Energy is gradually being consumed. The well-established second law of thermodynamics teaches us that energy is depleted over time. Stars are losing their energy, and the universe's expansion appears to be accelerating, pushing its boundaries beyond our comprehension. All of this leads us to conclude that the physical world as we know it is not a viable candidate for something that exists eternally. Now, the big question is, what existed eternally must be entirely different from what we see today. The answer may lie in something primordial, something beyond our current understanding, which does not conform to the laws of the physical universe we observe. And so, the quest for truth continues, leading us to explore possibilities that challenge our imagination and expand our horizons on the nature of existence. Because the source of everything must be something beyond our current understanding, we are challenged to explore the true nature of this mystery that transcends our physical world. I acknowledge that the idea of something existing eternally may seem challenging, But I would like to present a different perspective. Consider that everything we perceive as contingent reality, meaning things that could be otherwise, are just passing manifestations. Even seemingly solid objects, like the chair in front of you, were once mere possibilities at the threshold of non-being. They are not permanent and disappear over time. The truth is that all these things cannot explain themselves. They are interconnected like dominoes in an interdependent chain of contingencies. At some point, we must assume there is something fundamental, something entirely different from what we are trying to explain. However, when it comes to God, the main assertion of Jewish, Christian, and Islamic traditions is that God is eternal. Therefore, the question of the origin of God does not apply to him. God is conceived as necessary and not contingent, meaning his existence does not depend on anything else. He is the first cause, the basis of everything that exists. In this way, understanding God as eternal allows us to break free from the infinite chain of cause and effect we see in the physical world and challenges us to contemplate a reality beyond what we can see and touch. This perspective invites us to consider that the foundation of the universe and existence must be something that transcends the limitations of time and space. Therefore, as we explore these ideas, we are led to a deeper understanding of the mystery of existence and the role that an eternal force can play in the creation and sustenance of everything we know. By definition, the only way to argue against this is to assume that everything belongs to the category of created, but this simply puts us back to square one. The ancient Greeks explored this question, which is why the Gospel of John begins with the words, "In the beginning was the Word." This statement invites us to consider that all things have their origin in something eternal and transcendent, beyond our understanding, something that existed before everything else. The ancient Greeks were interested in the question of two categories: what is creative and what already exists. Ultimately, this question boils down to whether there is something or someone that was never created. Christians assert that this being is God, and this assertion is central to their faith. The question of who created God may seem legitimate to some, but I argue that it is not. For those who believe that the universe created everything, I want to pose a question: who created the creator of the universe? If we assume that the universe is the first cause, we still face the question of its origin. The universe, with its complex laws and constant expansion, seems not to be self-sufficient to explain its own existence. Thus, the idea of an eternal creator, transcending time and space, offers a more complete and satisfying explanation. This line of thought leads us to contemplate the possibility of an eternal and necessary being whose existence depends on nothing else. This being, whom Christians call God, would be the origin of everything, breaking the infinite chain of cause and effect we observe in the physical world. Therefore, as we explore these ideas, we are invited to a deeper and broader understanding of the mystery of existence and creation. This question often leaves people confused, and I have discussed it myself with many scientists. I remember one occasion when I was talking with a group of about 1,000 scientists. A physicist approached and commented that while he found what I was saying about God interesting, as a Christian, my belief in the Trinity, that Jesus was both God and man, seemed absurd to him. I reflected on this and decided to take a different approach. I explained that many things we accept and use in our daily lives are actually mysteries to us. Take consciousness, for example. No one really fully understands what it is. Similarly, consider energy. Even physicists who can measure and use energy in various forms admit they do not understand its true nature. These examples serve to illustrate that it is common for us to accept concepts and phenomena that we do not fully understand. Gravity, light, and consciousness itself are mysteries that we are far from fully unraveling. Therefore, it is not surprising that the idea of God, the Trinity, and other aspects of faith are also complex and difficult to understand. These mysteries invite us to explore more deeply, to reflect, and to recognize that not everything can be explained simply and directly. Instead of discouraging us, these complexities should encourage us to continue seeking knowledge and understanding. These mysteries are contained in God, and the question of who created God is not as complex as it may seem. When we refer to God as an eternal and timeless being, the answer becomes clear. Keith Ward argues in his book, God, Chance and Necessity, that if someone were to ask what caused God's existence, the answer would be simple: nothing. Nothing could have brought into existence a reality that completely transcends space and time, that is self-existent. This idea implies that God is beyond the categories of beginning and end. Anything that begins to exist needs a cause, because nothing can come from nothing. However, something that is eternal and timeless does not fit into this initial premise and does not require a cause. Even atheists like Daniel Dennett acknowledge that if there are eternal truths, such as numbers or mathematical objects, they do not need a reason to exist because they never come into existence. The concept of God is precisely that of an eternal and self-existent being, a primary necessity. Therefore, the answer is simple. God does not need a cause because he is self-existent. Our definition of God is the uncreated creator of the universe who transcends all limitations of time. Thus, understanding God as eternal and uncaused helps us grasp the depth of this mystery that challenges our perception of the physical world and existence. Asking who created the uncreated creator is like asking about the sound of silence or what emptiness does. What I am trying to illustrate is that there is a definition of silence that prevents us from asking such a question. Similarly, when we ask who created the uncreated creator of the universe, we are following a line of reasoning that does not apply to him. This brings us to an important point. Christians base their beliefs on a God who was not created, while atheists often provide different answers. As an ex-atheist, I also believed in an uncreated creator, though my understanding was different. Perhaps I considered the idea of a multiverse generator or some quantum environment where universes arise spontaneously. Regardless of the concept, the notion that the universe was not created remains. Therefore, ultimately, everyone believes in the existence of an uncreated creator. What I would like to explore is the story from the beginning of the universe to the impact of God's spiritual being on material matter. Considering that we all have this belief in an uncreated creator, it is important to analyze how this primordial force influences and interacts with the physical world. Since the emergence of the universe, the influence of an uncreated creator shapes existence and sustains reality. The idea of an eternal being, not bound by time and space, leads us to consider how this entity impacts the material universe. Whether through the natural laws governing everything or through invisible forces that we do not yet comprehend, the presence of an eternal creator provides a solid foundation for existence. This perspective broadens our understanding and invites us to reflect on the deep nature of reality. It challenges us to think beyond the limitations of the physical world and to consider the ongoing interaction between the spiritual and the material. Ultimately, belief in an uncreated creator is a point of convergence for various worldviews, offering a coherent explanation for the origin and sustenance of the universe. Perhaps the essential question is how this creator relates to our continuum of space, time, and matter. Here lies the crux of the matter. All these elements, time, space, and matter, must have arisen simultaneously. If there was space but no time, where would you place it? And if there were matter in space but no time, when would you place it? Time, space, and matter cannot be separated. They must coexist. The Bible addresses this issue succinctly in just 10 words. In the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth. In this phrase, heavens represent space and earth represents matter, while in the beginning denotes time. Therefore, time, space, and matter were created together. These three elements form an essential trinity. Time encompasses past, present, and future. Space has length, width, and height, and matter exists in the states of gas, liquid, and solid. This trinity of trinities was created instantly, and the God who created them must be beyond them, transcending all temporal limitations. If God were subject to time, he would not truly be God, as he would be constrained by his own creation. The creator of this universe is not limited by it, just as the creator of a computer is not trapped inside manipulating numbers on the screen. Similarly, the God who created this universe is not limited by it. This perspective helps us understand that the Creator, being eternal and timeless, transcends the limitations of his creation. He is independent of time, space, and matter, which places him beyond our full comprehension. However, this understanding invites us to delve deeper into the mystery of existence and the relationship between the Creator and his creation. He is beyond, above, and through the universe, unaffected by it. Now, when it comes to the assertion that a spiritual force cannot have an effect on material bodies, this raises some intriguing questions. How do we explain emotions like love, hate, envy, jealousy, and rationality? If our brain were just a random collection of chemicals formed over billions of years, how could we trust our own reasoning processes and our perceptions of what is right? I remember previously asking where God came from, and that question presupposes that God is limited, which is not the case. The God I admire is not restricted by time and space. Even if I were to try to confine him within my limited mind, he would still be worthy of worship. That's what fascinates me. He is beyond understanding, and that's why I worship him. He reminds me of the words I saw when he came out of the heels of the devil, the saint of the mouth of the pot and team. This means that God is not limited by place or form. His presence is omnipresent and transcends all limits. Therefore, he did not come from nothing. He has always existed. I made this statement at a meeting in Detroit some time ago, and a mathematician approached me and said, "Reverend, let's be rational about this." Rationality, emotions, and morality are complex aspects of human existence that defy purely materialistic explanations. The idea that a spiritual force can influence the material world is not as absurd as it may seem at first glance. Many of the things we take for granted in everyday life, like love and rationality, cannot be fully explained by chemical and biological processes alone. Thus, by acknowledging the presence and influence of a spiritual force, we are opening up space for a broader and deeper understanding of reality. This perspective does not deny science, but complements our quest for answers, considering both the material and the immaterial, the known and the unknown. And ultimately, this leads us to a fuller appreciation of the mystery and wonder of existence. The question you are discussing tonight, saying that God came from nothing, simply does not make sense. Let's be reasonable. I responded, all right, let's be rational. The reason God came from nothing is that there was no place from which he could come. He did not emerge from anywhere, and the reason he had to remain in nothing is that there was no place for him to be. He stretched out when there was nothing to hold on to and put something where there was nothing to hang. He said to let it stay there. If you look at the book of Genesis, chapter 1, verses 26 and 27, you will see that he hung this world in nothing and remained in nothing. He took his own hammer of will and the anvil of his omnipotence. Sparks flew, and he took those sparks, placed them on his fingertips, and cast them into space, adorning the heavens with stars. And no one contested, for there was no one to contest. Then God himself said that this was good. God gave Christ a name above every name, so that at the name of Jesus every knee should bow, in heaven and on earth and under the earth, and every tongue confess that Jesus Christ is Lord, to the glory of God the Father. I want to emphasize that questions about the origin of God and the nature of creation are profound and have intrigued humanity throughout history. Regardless of individual beliefs, one thing is clear. Our ability to understand the truth about God and the universe is limited. The idea of an uncreated creator, a God beyond time, space, and matter, challenges our understanding, but also reminds us of the greatness of the unknown. Ultimately, the search for truth is a personal and spiritual journey, and each of us can find meaning and purpose in our own way. We explore perspectives that invite reflection, expand thought, and acknowledge divine transcendence. Regardless of where you are in your spiritual journey, I hope these discussions inspire an appreciation for the complexity and beauty of the universe and the mystery surrounding divinity. To conclude, I want to thank everyone for joining me on this fascinating journey. If you're also interested in these profound mysteries, subscribe to the channel and hit the bell icon so you don't miss any videos. Like, comment, and share with your friends so we can expand this community of truth seekers. Leave your questions and suggestions in the comments. Thank you for watching. See you in the next video.